Europe sucking up to China against the US. Reminder that 80 years of our greatest ally and trillions from Uncle Sugar is worth precisely zero. So someone told you the US can do without China? China is the core of global logistics, supply chains. The US doesn't even rank a trade war as bad for the United States of America. Those who think otherwise are delusional, and they are hurting the US.
What China is criticizing here is the US's client states. You have a lot of countries in the EU, but also smaller economies that can't really stand up for themselves, that basically go along with whatever the United States does, even if it's against their own best interest. Chinese commerce being on the market is good for not only the Chinese economy and Chinese interests, but good for the global economy and for the US economy, frankly. The fact of the matter is that the United States infrastructure is crumbling. Our roads are falling apart. They're depaving roads in 26 states in this country, and our electrical infrastructure simply cannot handle being able to manufacture goods. I'm an American patriot. I think that it would be wonderful if we could somehow bring back manufacturing in this country, but punitively trying to punish countries like China for having manufacturing when we are simply not capable of doing so is not the right way. And it hurts American citizens, it hurts the bottom line of small business owners, and it hurts consumers.
There are 5 cards that China holds. It can withstand the tariffs due to the size of its economy, especially domestically. It has invested in the future, like renewables, chips, and AI. It has sped up its Belt and Road initiative. It knows when Trump will blink, and it has a chokehold when it comes to rare earth minerals.
Many of these countries don't have their own center of gravity politically. They're very much taking umbrage on what they should do, taking direction on what they should do from Washington. And we saw this most prominently in 2 situations. The first being the Ukraine proxy war, where countries in the European Union, for example, went against their own self-interest and refused to buy Russian oil, instead choosing to buy more expensive American oil because the United States told them to. I think China is a slightly different situation, because what's really going on here is that they're going along to get along, and they kind of want to do what's best for business. And Trump seems to be stuck in the 1990s. He seems to be under the impression that the United States is still capable of driving other countries off of the market by threatening them with sanctions and tariffs and pulling the rug out from under them economically. And the fact of the matter is that that is not true anymore. There is a huge emerging BRICS economy that is really the future.
One of the points to consider is the size of the Chinese market versus the US, and whether China can stand up to the US when it comes to the number of countries it does business with. This map shows that about 70% of the economics worldwide trade more with China than with the US. This figure was just 15% in 2001. When it comes to Chinese tariffs on US trade, here is a cross-section. 82% will be captured by firms in third countries. About 12% will be retained by Chinese firms, and only about 6% will be captured by the US firms. When it comes to US tariffs on China's trade, about 85% will be captured by firms in other countries. US firms will retain less than 10%, while Chinese firms will capture only about 5% across different sectors, from machinery to precision instruments. Finally, there is a point that needs to be made about the US stock market. The market sell-off was one factor that made US President Donald Trump cave in, since he did not anticipate the backlash. In short, Wall Street tried shorted President Trump tariff plan. Now our guest, Noah Schenk, activist, writer, and a political analyst, rejoins us right now. Mr. Schenk, my question, very simple. Why has the dollar strength reduced? Do you think it's because of the Trump's tariff policy?
Well, beginning with the 2008 financial crisis, what we really began to see in this country was that the Federal Reserve began to start printing money. Because the United States saw itself as the world reserve currency, we had the idea that because the market had been flooded with too many commodities and things were getting too expensive, people were losing houses because there were too many houses. The idea was to print money to try and keep the economy afloat. The problem with that is that when there are shocks to the market that drive commodities like oil off the market, like, for example, the Ukraine proxy war, what you have is what's called a crisis of stagflation. And we saw this historically in the 1970s during the Iranian Revolution, towards the end of the Carter administration, et cetera, where not only do you have economic stagnation, but you also have dramatic inflation in the United States. When Trump coming into office, it's really you can sort of see the tariffs in this light as him trying to combat it without fundamentally fixing the problem that is driving down American living standards.